ready to start. Uh, Everybody understand my English, right? Okay, good. So first lecture is about cell cycle. Okay, the cell cycle is very important to understand because you know the cancer actually is a disease of cell cycle. Okay, many of us know that the cancer is due to the normal cell have the capability to have abnormal cell proliferation. Okay, so it's very important to understand about cell cycle. Okay, so this is some information here I give to you about the my contact information, including my phone number. I actually, like I said, I try to organize the Cancer Hallmark Journal, and in addition to that, I try to spread the knowledge, the newest, advanced cancer research knowledge through some of the program. It's called, I think many of you probably know the Twitter, okay? Twitter, Facebook, you could get access to my Facebook. If you type your Cancer Hallmarks, you will get access to that. And then right now I'm out of country, so some of the posting a little bit slow. But if you do Twitter, Cancer Hallmark, you can follow me about the newest cancer research program, the knowledge. And then the other thing, if you have a LinkedIn, okay, I don't know, many of you know, how many of you know LinkedIn? 1, 2, 3, good. So you should let your colleague know about LinkedIn. If you have LinkedIn, and I do quite a few posting there as well. So you could go through that process to understand, to get the access to all the newest knowledge. So the cell cycle, how important it is, okay? And as you can see that Nobel Prize has been given to important research in this area about 10 years ago. Okay? This is really not basic scientists. They got a Nobel Prize due to their research effort in this area. Although at that time, mostly was done in the East system, okay? Leland Harwell, an American scientist, currently is the president of the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center. Tim Hunt, UK, he is a scientist from United Kingdom. Sir Paul Nurse, also originally a scientist from UK, but he was recruited to Rockefeller to be a president. And then these three of them are doing research in East cell cycle, and then basic research in this area allow us to understand more what is a cell cycle these days. And then, of course, right now our knowledge in this area is exploding. Okay, and to talk about cell cycle, I always like to make an analogy of the cell cycle like you riding bicycle. I think many of you know how to ride bicycle. Okay, on the street, I think it was amazing to see the phenomenon that so many people riding on a motorcycle. And I know, okay. I think it's important that when you, it's okay for me to stand here? Yes? More in the middle? Okay. I think everybody knows it's very important you pay attention to safety, right? So in order to be safe, you need to control the brake, of course your gas pedal. And I this morning I see, when the vehicle in front of you suddenly had to stop, you definitely need to control your brake very carefully, right? And then sometimes when you accelerate, you have to coordinate with your brake control. So it's very important. And the reason I say the cancer cell cycle is like riding bicycle. It's very important analogy because cancer is like you riding a motorcycle without a brake. Okay, and you can imagine that's very dangerous. Okay, so a lot of cancer cells do have that capability to sort of inactivated brake system. So today's lecture, I would like to introduce you the brake system that the cell has, okay? Our normal cell has this brake, but a cancer cell inactivate all these brakes, okay? And then some of you know this kind of wacky picture of the different cells, bicycle, okay? Even the strange one, the basic element of the brake system you still need there. Right? So the first thing, let's talk about the two things about the cell cycle machinery. Just like your motorcycle, you have the what do you call in car we call it gas pedal, right? In motorcycle, you have this clutch that allow you to allow the gas to burn, to accelerate your motorcycle. So the cell cycle machinery in a normal cell do have some of these systems. We call it positive regulator, or sometimes I call it a gas pedal of the cell cycle machinery. Okay. And these, what are the components of these positive regulator cell cycle machinery? They are the so-called cycling. Okay, cycling get a name coming from following the cell cycle. They go up and down. Okay, so you don't need to memorize all that, but I wanted you to sit there to be able to understand more about the cell cycle machinery. So once you finish the lecture, you have much better idea about what the cell cycle is about. So in the mammalian cell, we have a whole bunch of different kind of cycling, from cycling A to cycling H. You can see from here, and they always have an important partner. Okay, it's called CDK. Okay, the partner CDK1 or CDK2. CDK stands for cycling dependent kinase. Okay, and a whole bunch of different kind of kinase as well. Okay, and they are responsible for different phases of cell cycle progression. Okay, it's a CDK1, CDK2, CDK4, CDK5, CDK6, etc. Okay, so they are very importantly involved in the cell cycle progression. Okay, and I will tell you more about these CDK. Okay, we just talked about cycling. Yes.
So cycling a protein?
Yes, cycling is a protein. Yes, and then we'll talk about how cycling can regulate. What's the reason it's become up and down. Okay. Okay. So we talk about CDK. Okay, these are very important partner for cycling. Okay. CDK, you get a name. Okay, CDK stands for cycling dependent kinase. Okay, these kind of kinase without cycling association, they do not have the kinase activity. Okay, so many of them do need to associate with cycling in order to be activated. Okay, the CDK1 to CDK9, they have several different partners. For example, CDC2. Okay. Sometimes we call CDK1. Okay, when you read the literature or the research paper, some people call it the CDC2. Then you realize it's called CDK1. Okay, and it's involved in G2M progression. We'll talk about what's the cell cycle clock. Okay, to let you know what is the CDK cycling capability. Maybe let me stand here. Is that okay here?
It's okay.
Good. Okay. And not just you and me have the cycling CDK. Many species has it because, as you know, including little yeast or even Drosophila or the C. elegans, these organisms. They all have cycling CDK because these organisms, they need to be able to proliferate. In the cell proliferation, after cell proliferation, sometimes they need to commit to differentiation. So
these are organisms, they have the cyclic CDK. For example, yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, they have a cycling, okay? They have a CDK as well, okay? The C. elegans, okay? The Drosophila, the so-called fruit fly, okay? Fruit fly has been used in the genetics to study a lot about the regulation biological function. It's very important genetic tool to study the developmental biology. And C. elegans is another organism for that purpose. Human, as I mentioned, has a CDK, okay? They're an important partner. Okay? In the cell cycle, we talk about cell cycle. Cell cycle has an important phenomena is that they have to go through the different phases of cell cycle. We call the cell cycle clock, okay? Or it's composed of G1, stand for GAP1, GAP1, okay? S phase, many of you know S stand for what? Stand for DNA synthesis, okay? So that means that during that time, the cell cycle, the DNA is duplicated, okay? And then G2, another gap, okay? And it goes through M. M stands for mitosis, okay? So cell cycle clock is composed of these different phases. To complete your cell cycle, you need to go through all these processes. G1, S phase, G2, and M phase, okay? So that will complete the process. And sometimes for your motorcycle to you be able to ride smoothly, sometimes I like to call it like a gear number 1, number 2, number 3, and then you are on the road, right? So think of it this way, make the you study cell cycle in a much more interesting process. Okay? So different phase is controlled by cycling and CDK. Okay? The G1 was the several cycling CDK, they are involved in that process. For example, the early G1 is controlled by cyclin D and CDK4 or CDK5 or CDK6. The late G1 is controlled by cyclin E and CDK2. Okay? During the S phase, there's a cyclin A CDK2 contribution there. From G to M progression, there's a cyclin A CDK1, cyclin B CDK1. Remember, CDK1 also has another name called CDC2. Okay, so sometimes literature say cyclin B CDC2 is involved in controlling G2M progression, controlling the mitosis to help the cell to complete the mitosis process. Okay, so you get a feeling about all these positive regulator of cell cycle machinery. Don't you think it's much more complicated than your motorcycle, right? Your motorcycle is just, you accelerate it. But here, you need to complete these. Cycling, CDK, almost different kind of the cycling CDK control the whole process. It's such a delicate process. Okay? We're amazed because I think for many of us who have the opportunity to study biology, I think you should know about cell cycle. It's a very amazing process to know about yourself as well. Everybody should have the chance. I think Lim is going to guide some of you to know what is cell culture, and you know how the cell proliferate and duplicate during the cell cycle. Okay. And these CDK, okay, biologists or the biochemists or the genetics, we try to understand the biological function of all these important molecules. The important tool right now to do it, to study before, is using the knockout knowledge, the knockout strategy to say, for example, if we knock out this particular gene and see what it had happened to the whole organism. Okay, so all these CDK has been knocked out. Okay, as you can see here. the CDC2 or CDK1 has been knocked out. And it actually, the knockout mouse technology. For those of you who know knockout strategy, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, okay, 4. Not many of you know, but it's very important too. I suggest if you have a chance, go to find out what is the so-called knockout strategy. Okay, it's important tools to study the biological function of a particular gene. Okay, and so this has been knocked out. So I just want to point out to you, the CDC2 knockout, or CDK1 knockout, make the mice lethal, the embryonic lethal. Okay, that means that for the embryo to complete or to be born, be able to be born, they all need a CDK1, right? You can imagine when the embryo starts from the fertilized egg and then start to duplicate from 1 cell to 2 cell to 3 cell. All these processes will allow the embryo to form, right? The cell proliferation process is very important for that process. And without the CDK1 or CDC2, the embryo cannot go on. Even the E.1.5 day mean probably after two cells, they stop already. Or 4 cells, they already completely stop. So you can imagine for the cell proliferation, you do need this important gene involved. Okay? So this just give you the flavor how important they are involved in cell proliferation, involving embryo development. Some of the CDK actually, to our surprise, they are viable, meaning that even without CDK2, the embryo was able to complete, was able to be born. Okay, they were born, they are viable, except when they grow up, the male or female, they are sterile. An important thing, they are viable, meaning that for some reason during the developmental process, its biological function, even though we knocked it out, it was able to replace by other genes. Okay? In this case, the CDK2 may be replaced by CDK1 or CDK4 or CDK6. So this just give you a flavor. You don't need to memorize how these come, all these, but I just give you the first step, understand how important these important cyclic CDK, how important they are during the developmental process.
So, Professor, may I ask you?
Yes.
So, did I check it in vitro that CDK1 and CDK4, CDK6 they have the same function?
Yeah. Please use your microphone so I be able to hear you. Yeah.
So my question is, so you said that maybe CDK2 function is replaced by CDK1 or CDK4 or 6. So is there any report for checking that in vitro?
Okay, that's a good question. In vitro, you say check in vitro. Okay. Actually, next slide will be able to tell you about the answer these questions you have. You have a good insight and a good inquisitive mind there. Okay, so let me see. Yeah. Is there any other CDK indeed replace that particular biological function? So how scientists could address that question? They do the so-called double knockout or triple knockout. Okay. So for example, if CDK1 is lethal or CDK2 is not lethal, it's viable. Okay. If CDK2 we have double knockout, say CDK2, CDK4 knockout, and see what happens. If CDK2, CDK4 knockout still survive or they are embryonic lethal, you will get the answer, right? So indeed that's the case. Here, look at here. Okay, the CDK1 is lethal, right? They start at 2 cell stage, right? You already see here. If I do the triple knockout, see here? Let me see. So this is knockout, just knockout CDK1, already cell, already died, okay? But interesting, knockout CDK2, even these three of them, all together, okay? The embryo was died at the 12.5 day, okay? So meaning that some of the CDK, these are all CDK, you have to be all of them present in order to the cell, the embryo to go on. So for example, let's take a look at another one. Let me see. The CDK4 and CDK6 double knockout die at this moment. Okay. If originally just CDK4 alone, let me see. They don't have here, but we do know CDK4 alone. If you go back to the last slide. CDK4 is viable, right? Just one knockout is viable. But we know if we do the double knockout here, okay, they die here. So for some odd reason, CDK6 was able to replace CDK4's biological function for the single knockout to be survival. Right now, if I knock out CDK6 at the same time with the CDK4, the embryo could only go on to E6.5 day, 16.5 day. E means embryonic stage. Okay, so does that answer your question? Of course, that's the important question that scientists want to understand which CDK really could replace the other CDK's biological function. Okay, so this is just give you an idea. You can take a look at this Nature Review of Cancer, okay, been published, and then give you a better understanding. Certainly, I can spend more time in here, but probably let's move on first, and then once you have more questions, you could ask me about in more detail about all these regulations. But again, like I said, these CDK sometimes they replace each other's biological function. So at least CDK4 and CDK6 let us know. These, if you remember correctly from the previous slide, CDK4 and CDK6 both are involved in the G1 progression, early G1 progression. Okay, so if you knock out one, the other one actually replaces that particular biological function. Okay. Cyclin also been knocked out as well. Very similar situation like a CDK. Some of them are viable, some of them are lethal, especially versus cyclin B1. You can see that. Also, remember cyclin B1, its important partner is CDC2 or CDK1. That's a very early stage, okay? And the cyclin B1 knockout also viable, okay? So meaning that some of these cyclin also they could replace each other, okay? So it's just that you get a sense that the dedicated regulatory machinery allow the cell cycle machinery to go on smoothly. It's just like a regular motorcycle. Maybe you lose one screw somehow in your machine, but your motorcycle still be able to go on, right? So there's some at least still be able to maintain that process. So next slide, I want to tell you the brake system of the cell cycle machinery. Okay, I tell you the positive regulator of cell cycle machinery, sort of like a gas pedal of your accelerating system of your motorcycle. Right now, I want to tell you the brake system of this cell cycle machinery. And then it's also even much more complicated than our motorcycle. Okay. As you can see, there's 4 different ways to inactivate the cyclin CDK activity. The cyclin CDK is the engine core of this cell cycle machinery. And to inactivate these cell cycle machinery, there's a biochemical pathway to be able to do that. Okay. First thing, okay, as I say, the cyclin CDK, okay, they need to form a complex in order to be activated. But there's a way to inactivate these CDK cyclin activity. It's by binding to a cyclin-dependent kinase inhibitor, another protein. These associations were leading to an inactivated form of cyclin CDK complex. The second way is by dissociation of the cyclin. Okay, as you can see here, like I said, cyclin could be degraded. Once cyclin degraded, you need a CDK alone. This is CDK alone, basically has no activity. Okay, so that's the second way. Okay, we will talk about how about the cyclin got degraded in the next couple lecture. A third mechanism is by these complex to associate with a protein called CAP. CAP stands for CDK associated phosphatase. Okay, and this is very important biochemical regulation here because CDK, although itself a kinase, but on the top of it, this particular kinase protein has a lot of phosphorylation sites. Okay, several important phosphorylation sites has been paid attention to, and then throughout 14, tyrosine 15.